Hello again, Fissels family and friends. This is the pastoral message for Saturday, September 4th, although I'm recording it on Friday evening because tomorrow I'll be quite busy concluding the day with our bonfire and cookout at the church. And so I did want to, one, remind you of the bonfire and cookout in time for you to make plans if you haven't, to attend if you haven't already. And two, so that I'd make sure that we had a Saturday series meditation for this week. So this is our early edition of our Saturday series. This week we're up to Psalm 44, and in our Saturday series, as always, we take one of the Psalms and meditate, reflect on it in the style of a UCC Still Speaking Daily Devotional. And so I invite you, as always, to read the Psalm in your own Bible, then watch and listen to the meditation, and then if you choose to read the Psalm again with the meditation in mind. As I said, today's Psalm is, I think I said anyway, but if not, today's Psalm is Psalm 44. And the title for the reflection, for the meditation, is Keeping Faith in Dark Times. And the focal verse from the Psalm is verse 26. Rise up and come to our help. Redeem us for the sake of your steadfast love. And here is meditation. This week's Psalm, Psalm 44, deals with Israel at war and whether God's help has been present or not. During the time of the psalmist's ancestors, Israel had success in battle. The people readily gave God credit for their victories. God drove their enemies from the land. For this, they continually praised God and gave God thanks for God's protection. Now the tide has turned. The psalmist laments that God seems to have rejected the people. God no longer seems to be with the people of Israel, and they are being vanquished in their battles. They are being disgraced by their foes. They are now laughingstocks, and they believe God is not with them. They have no explanation for this. The author protests that the people have not forgotten God, nor have they been false to their covenant with God. God should know this because God knows their hearts. The psalm ends with an urgent plea that God awake from slumber. Still wondering why God seems to be in hiding and is forgetting their oppression, the psalmist cries out, Rise up, come to our help. Redeem us for the sake of your steadfast love. As with other psalms, it's helpful to translate the psalmist's concern into our context in order for it to have meaning in our lives. It's easy to feel God's presence when things are going well for us. If we're faithful, we remember to give God thanks and praise rather than assume our good fortune is only through our own power and cleverness. But what about when things go wrong? What about when we're confronted with a downturn in fortunes? How do we respond to the death of a loved one? How do we respond especially to the death of a child? How do we respond to the diagnosis of a life-threatening illness, or in suffering through the agony of a painful disease? How about as we've suffered and endured a year of this pandemic? Some of us have suffered more than others, but for all of us, the loss of hundreds of thousands of American lives and millions worldwide may cause us to cry out like the psalmist, Why do you hide your face? Why do you forget our affliction and oppression? Do we still feel that God is there? In spite of our prayers, in spite of doing what we think we should be doing, God may still seem far from us. Do we still have faith that God is watching over us, even in the worst of times? Keeping faith in dark times can be very hard. It may at times seem impossible. But I believe the alternative is worse. No life is without suffering. We can choose to suffer alone, or we can choose to believe that God is with us, that God knows what we are going through, and that God will support us even in the darkest of times. Having faith in God's steadfast, God's enduring love means that God is always present in our joys and in our sorrows. We are not alone. Keep the faith. God will rise up and come to our help. And our prayer. God of steadfast love, help us to be aware of your presence and your love in good times and bad. Let us be thankful for your blessings always, and let us have faith that you will bring us through the dark times of our lives. Amen. I look forward to seeing many of you at the bonfire and cookout tomorrow evening, starting at 5 o'clock at the church. Bring your own food to cook because of the pandemic. We'll have a gas grill going and the fire to cook over the fire directly if you choose. We'll have regular 10 a.m. worship on Sunday morning with Holy Communion, as it's the first Sunday of the month. We'll have communion served in the pews, but you could also pick up one of the communion celebration cups when you come in, or you can bring your own communion elements from home. We will have our Zoom gathering with communion following worship at 11:30. And so until we talk again, remember that God's steadfast love endures forever. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay strong, and I know that God is continuing to bless us all. Goodbye for now.